This is City and State TV, and I'm Albany Bureau Chief John Lentz. Joining me today is Assemblyman Francisco Moya. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me on your show.
And one of your top priorities this year is the DREAM Act. It's been introduced at least a few years now. Where are we at with that legislation, and what would it do in New York?
Sure. I think right now we are at the closest we've ever been since we introduced it 3 years ago to it actually passing both houses. In the Assembly, we've passed it every year, and that's thanks to the good work of Assemblyman, our Speaker Silver, who has been really the champion for us here in the Assembly to get this thing done and included in our one-house budget. But what this does is very simple. It just goes to talk to equality for students, regardless of their immigration status. The fact is that we actually pay for undocumented students from kindergarten all the way to high school. To then say to them at the most important juncture in their academic careers, no, we will no longer allow you to get any type of assistance to go to college, is detrimental not just to these young dreamers who have achieved academic excellence in their academic careers, but also the economic impact that it has on the state of New York. The more graduates that we have with a BA, the more people that we have off of public assistance. The more people we have graduating with a BA, the higher salaries that they make, the higher tax revenue that the state gets back. This is a no-brainer. We should all be really getting behind this issue that just makes sense. We're either going to not do anything and then have to face the economic impact of it in the future, where we will have an entire generation of students not being educated. So they will have a high school diploma, and what we've seen with most people that are on unemployment right now, it is people who just have a high school diploma. So these are students that are valedictorians in their class, top of their class. To deny them the access to opportunities to go to college, I think is detrimental not just to them, but to the entire state of New York.
Now, to clarify, this is for any young child who comes here illegally with their parents, or is it broader than that? Who actually would qualify?
So there's qualifications to this, and what we're saying is we're opening it up to all New Yorkers, regardless of your status. But they would have to meet the criterias that are already set right now for tuition assistance. So they have to meet the academic threshold, they have to have a certain financial threshold that needs to be met. And all we're saying is that we're looking to open that process up so that these students have the same opportunities as everyone else. And it also goes to the fact that most people say, well, it's taking away from U.S. citizens applying for TAP. That's not true. TAP is an entitlement program, so it's based on need. So if people apply and they qualify, they will get it. So it doesn't take away from anyone else getting it. It's just opening up the process to those that actually qualify.
Now, there have been some developments with this legislation already this year. I think you had pushed to have it in the budget. The governor didn't include it in the budget. IDC, the leader of the IDC, Jeff Klein, came on board. He's supportive of the bill. What do you think is the next step? Do you think the Senate Republicans would allow this to get on the floor?
Well, look, we're very encouraged by the IDC coming out in support of this legislation. I think that the Assembly is going to do its part once again to not only pass it in our House, it's passed overwhelmingly, but we're also going to look to include it in our budget, in our one-house budget. But I think we're very encouraged on what's happening in the other House, and that is that the independent Democrats have come out. The Senate Democrats have said that they support this. I think that they need to really step it up in getting all of their members to come out and support this bill, which then gives us the opportunity to have enough votes for it to pass in both houses.
And there's obviously also the federal legislation called the DREAM Act, which would do some of the similar things with education access, but also offer legal status. And that's been up in the air. The House Republicans recently came out and said they support some sort of path to legal status, maybe not citizenship. Are you following that closely, and are you optimistic that maybe we'll have a federal deal this year on immigration?
Look, I think that what's been happening in Washington has been a severe lack of courage when it comes to immigration issues. We've always looked to Washington because the states can't legislate immigration issues. That's a federal issue. And the debate has gone on for far too long. President Obama in his first term said he is going to accomplish several things, and one of his top priorities was immigration reform, and that never happened. I think for the Latino community and the immigrant community, we're looking for leadership to come out of Washington this year. Whether that happens or not, it's not going to stop us here in the state of New York from advancing the progress that needs to happen. We've seen what's happening in a trend nationally. We've seen California, New Mexico, Texas. The only time I'll ever agree with Governor Rick Perry, who passed the DREAM Act. New Jersey passed some form of the DREAM Act. Washington State, recently its Senate Republicans passed a form of the DREAM Act as well. So we're seeing how this is trending, across the country. But at the same time, New York, which is the state that has always led the way on its progressive issues. It's a state that's been the hub for immigrants that come from all over the world. And all they ask for is that one opportunity to achieve the American dream, which is getting a good quality education. These students that are here, these young dreamers, they know no other country but ours. They were brought here at no fault of their own by their parents. And to punish them because Washington can't get its act together, can't come up with a comprehensive immigration bill, should not be an excuse for us to slow it down and wait to see what the federal government has done. In the state of New York, we've never waited for the federal government, and we've seen the administration who passed minimum wage, who's passed the Safety Act, marriage equality. Why would we now stop on an issue that impacts a lot of members throughout the state of New York that have a high constituency of undocumented immigrants, not just in the city, but across this great state?
Assemblyman Moya, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.